following program may contain language of an adult nature. Listener discretion is advised.
Views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Even the government agrees.
He's a dangerous man!
Niggas is decaf, I stick them for the cream.
Hey, yo, check this out. This is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey, yo, you better listen to Dante, baby. Dante!
What's going on, y'all? And welcome to another edition of the Dante's Boxing Nation Show. I am your host, Dante, and we have another great show for you guys, as always. Let me first go ahead and introduce my man in the studio with me, my co-host, Norrin Raddical in the building.
I bomb atomically.
There we go. And online, as always, let me go ahead and introduce to you guys my correspondents. This man right here has a great YouTube channel, Mr. Boxingego's in the building. All right. And my man, King Yusef, check his Facebook page out there. It's Boxing Rush. What's going on, Yusef?
What's up, brothers? Let's get this popping.
Let's get it in. Let's get it in. So, okay, guys, we had a past weekend of fights. Decent fights, I would say. You know, we'll talk about what everybody thought about these fights. But let's first talk about the undercard fight. Now, the first fight was Gilberto Ramirez against Vlasov, or Maxim Vlasov. You know, they're trying to build up Gilberto as being the next star on Top Rank, Norrin. He's looking a little overrated to me. I think this step up, it kind of exposed him a little bit. He kept getting caught with the right hand over and over again, and I truly agree with Andre Ward when he was saying if this guy had a jab, he probably would have ended up stopping or dominating Maxim in this fight. But the thing is, this guy Vlasov, he was long. He had a nice reach, but he was trying to fight like a short guy, like a small guy, like a compact guy. And because of that, he was getting caught with a lot of body shots. He was starting. Ramirez was able to break him down slightly, and because of that, he got the edge in the fight and he won the fight. So I mean, what did you think about Ramirez's performance, Norrin?
I can't even necessarily say if Gilberto Ramirez is even overhyped, because honestly, I'm not hearing a whole lot. You know what I mean? So
That's a good point.
You know, and I think I said this before about one of the previous fights from last year. But I didn't go in with high expectations. So yeah, they're saying he got exposed. He got hit a lot. You know what I mean, by the same punch. You know, I mean, if you want to say he's overhyped, from like you said, are they saying that he's an elite fighter? You know what I mean? So in that case, he didn't show that he's an elite fighter. So again, I'm not disappointed, because I really didn't have a whole lot of expectations for him. And as far as the opponent Maxim, was he supposed to be a bum? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is he quality competition? So, yeah.
Well, you make a good point, Norrin. You make a real good point. You're right. We can't really call him overrated because no one was really rating him anyway. So
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, someone overrated would be, well, I ain't going to get into no names right now.
All right.
But let's just put it this way. I'm sure after that performance, this guy, he probably falls into the list of opponents that Golovkin would like to fight if he moved up to 168, and other fighters at 168. But definitely, this man don't want to be in the same arena as an Andre Ward, not even Gigi, so that's the way I seen it, Ego. I mean, now my man Ego, he covered this fight live. Give us your perspective from watching the fight live, Ego.
I pretty much agree. I got to talk to Gilberto Ramirez's team, real cool people. They have a young fighter, and he has potential. He just has to grow, because if you watch even the HBO, the highlight reel that HBO put together, a lot of it is Maxim and him landing good shots, and he was kind of catching them. I just don't think he really had pop to hurt him. So he needs to tighten up, I would say, his defense, because when you do step up in leagues and competition, some of those guys can hurt you. So you're gonna want to I guess, improve your defense so you're not getting caught. But I think he has potential. He could have had the jitters a little bit because if you look at fighters like Danny Garcia when he fought Eric Morales the first time, when I first seen him, I was like, Danny Garcia didn't look all that great to me. You know what I mean? Like, I thought he beat Eric Morales, but he didn't look great against the fading, older Morales. And then as you've seen, he was able to learn on the job and mature. So I think Gilberto has room for growth. I'm definitely not thinking it was a flawless performance. And I think his team even thought that. I got some interviews I'll post, but I talked to him after Jesus. Shout out to him. And I'll post those. But I think they were happy with the win, but they know they have work to do. So that's kind of what I took from the post-fight interviews.
It's okay. Nice. Yeah, that's that's cool. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, and that's an honest assessment. You know, I mean, fans can't get mad. It's true. I mean, Jim Lampley, he acknowledged it throughout the entire fight. They don't want to put this guy in the ring with you know, top-notch opponents, and it showed. I mean, King Yusef, if you were Gilberto Ramirez's promoter, would you bring him up cautiously? Would you put him in the ring with tough competition? What would you do, King?
For Zurdo, that's his nickname. But like Bob Arda wanted to match him with Chavez Jr. years ago, and there's some kind of like animosity and beef between both fighters. But Bob Arda now, since he saw him, he'll match him very carefully because before he was fighting Dirtyman, and he was just keep knocking them out. But once he stepped up and faced like a top 10 ranked contender, and then how he got exposed with like he's like kind of like very limited. He the only way he won the fight was like thanks to his body work. Like if the Russian employed like the jab as you said, he would have won the fight hands down. Like he was keep getting caught with right hand counters, like kind of short hooks. For Gilberto Ramirez, if he moves up to face Ward, Gigi, or even Arthur Abraham or Froch, like they'll stop the boy.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of work. He needs to go back to the gym, work on his fundamentals, and then face like another credible opponent before facing like a top 10 super middleweight. Because I'm telling you, if he faces the Terrell brothers, like they'll kill him.
Yeah, and
they'll like destroy him.
And I don't think a fighter like that is going to get any better. I mean, he's, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, what he has, he's got, 20, 30 fights. I don't know what his record is, but as far as I'm concerned, he has enough fights where he should have already mastered his craft. I mean, fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, and a lot of other fighters, they were already looking like a complete fighter in their early 20s, you know, with only about 10, 15 fights. So, you know, we hear this a lot. Like, people are still even saying, you know, Canelo has a lot to learn. No. 40-plus fights, you ain't going to get no better. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, yeah, maybe you could hire another trainer and just learn a couple things. But for the most part, you really can't teach old dog new tricks. An old dog new tricks, I should say. You know, so it is what it is. What you think about that assessment, Norrin?
You know, you're formed. You know, like I said, after a certain amount of time, that's you form into who you are. But you know, it depends on the fighter. You know what I mean?
It does.
Some fighters are more receptive, more adaptable, naturally. So you know what I mean? It makes it able to learn new techniques and be able to implement them. Like you said, trainers bring certain different dynamics. So you know, it's possible. I'm saying I don't think that's a fair assessment. Like I said, it depends on the fighter.
It depends on the fighter.
Yeah. You can't say generally this is good as a guy's going to get. He's never going to improve.
That's true.
It can't be a blanket statement.
Let me go ahead and say this guy in particular, in my opinion, he ain't getting no better.
Right.
In my opinion, and just off the subject a little bit, you make a good point, because when it comes to UFC, your boy Anthony Rumble Johnson, he did make the adjustments. He did become a better fighter, and he ended up knocking off Alexander Gustafsson. And he wasn't he wasn't expected to do that. So you do make a good point, Norrin, because he he became a better fighter. He became a better fighter. You know, he stepped his game up, went with a new camp. So, you know, just off the subject on that matter.
You got exceptions out there.
Yeah, you do have exceptions. But not for you, Ramirez. Anyway, you know. But, you know, but congratulations for winning, though. Congratulations for winning, man. You're doing your thing for as far as you can go with it. You know, hopefully you get some more wins out there.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
A W is a W for now, you know. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get into the main event, the trilogy. Oh, my goodness. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, this was something else. It was man, you have fighters making history in this fight. You know what I'm saying? You had Brandon Rios. Let's go ahead and start off with Brandon Rios. Congratulations to Brandon Rios. You know, he closed a chapter in his career, this trilogy. You know, I personally don't believe this fight was even needed. The third fight was even needed. I mean, it's good for Brandon Rios personally.
I kind of agree.
Yeah, it's good for Rios personally. He got paid. This guarantees him another big check on HBO. That's all good. But this was a waste of time. And of course, it's good for Bob Arum, too, because he just was able to just put, you know, two fighters together that he knew was going to draw a little bit of attention. But I personally believe that a fight like this should have been on an undercard, a pay-per-view undercard or something like this. It shouldn't have been on HBO as the main event. And we seen Mike Alvarado. He didn't really have anything. Bob Arum, once again, didn't care if Alvarado had anything. He was just looking at the dollar signs. He was looking at, oh, my God, you know, the war, the trilogy. And we just seen this guy get beat up by a much smaller Marquez. You know, he hasn't been – before that, he got knocked out by Provodnikov, you know. And this is what I meant before we got on air and I said it in my video. I mean, if you're watching the Olympics, if you're watching the world's fastest man, do you really care if the guy in 7th place beats the guy in 8th place? You don't care about that, right? You want to see who's going to finish first and who the runner-ups are, right? So I feel right now, until Brandon Rios steps his game up and starts fighting better competition, you know, we're seeing him fight against 8th place fighters, you know. So now if he was fighting against Tim Bradley, Provodnikov, you know, Terrence Crawford or someone like that, that would be a fight that I would be jumping up for, you know? I mean, what did you think about the fight, Norrin?
I think going into the fight, you could, just because of the historical legacy, they had 2 barn burners, 2, you know, real thrilling fights. So you think, you know, trilogy, legacy of boxing is built on great trilogies. Let these guys have their moments. So going into the fight, again, is like you can't, you know, say that it was going to be a trash fight. But what happened was, you know, being a trash fight. No, Alvarado, he wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
You know, you think back, who was it? When Tyson's last fight, who Tyson fight his last fight?
Was it? Well, he lost to both McBride.
Kevin McBride. McBride. And he sat on the ropes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't there. He didn't, you know, he didn't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the same thing Alvarado. He didn't want to be there. You know what I mean? So that's what, you know, made it, you know, I mean, big up to Brandon Rios. Congratulations. But again, it wasn't, you know, anything, you know, really, it was anticlimactic for the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, Alvarado, he didn't want to be there, you know.
And let me just say something, respond to that. Like you said, you know, you couldn't just automatically expect or just project that it was going to be a trash fight. But the point that I'm making is, exciting or not exciting, me personally, I don't want to see a fight like this in a main event because of the level of competition is what I'm saying. I mean, like if you comparing Rios against Alvarado to Danny Garcia versus Lamont Peterson, you know, or Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero, there's no competition is the point that I'm making. All I'm saying is, yes, this was, you know, this was expected to be fireworks, but let's put the fireworks on the undercard is all I'm saying. You know, it's not main event fireworks as far as I'd rather watch a chess match, you know, and this is just my own personal opinion. I'm not trying to speak for everyone, but I'd rather see a competitive chess match between Mickey Bay and Miguel Vasquez because the stakes are higher. as opposed to Brandon Rios and Alvarado, two guys really coming off of a losing streak. 7th and 8th place.
Hey, listen, you got to work with what's available, the resources that's available.
You got to work. Well, like I said,
Right,
this is good.
Oh, hey.
Like I said, this is good for Brandon Rios.
Okay.
It's good for Brandon Rios.
That's what's in the stable. You know what I'm saying?
Tim Bradley was in the stable too, though. Provodnik was in the stable too. Yeah, it was a couple in the stable. It Jesse Vargas. I know they're trying to set him up for the gold cow. Manny Pacquiao. But
listen, there's limited options in the stable, son.
Yeah,
limited options in the stable.
No doubt.
As opposed to the other, across the pasture.
Yeah, and like I said, this is no knock on Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios was doing his thing.
Not a knock on Brandon Rios at all.
This is not a knock on Brandon, and I'm sure Brandon Rios, my man Ego, he interviewed Brandon Rios, and who did he tell you he wanted next, Ego?
He said he doesn't do the call-outs really. He leaves it up to Cameron Duncan, but he said if he were to call someone out, one person he wants to call out is Victor Ortiz.
And that would be a good fight. That would be hey, but Ego, let me ask you, wasn't that a little? I watched your video. Wasn't that a little hypocritical? Because he said, "Look, I don't do the call-outs. Cameron Duncan does that. I don't call out fighters. Oh, but you know what? I want Victor Ortiz." I mean, wasn't that a little hypocritical?
Nah, I think sometimes emotions get into it, and these dudes really don't like each other. Like just from
I would love to fight.
His energy.
Yeah.
I think so. Like normally, if it weren't this personal bad blood and personal beef, then he probably wouldn't call out. So I think that's kind of what he was saying is like, normally I don't do this, but I'm gonna make an exception because I don't like this dude. That's kind of how I took it.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, the thing with Brandon Rios, because of his aggression, because of his great inside fighting, because of his chin, he could definitely be a great gatekeeper, against the bigger name fighters. I mean, I would love to see Brandon Rios against anybody. Obviously, Mike Alvarado, he's done. But Brandon Rios, I would love to see him against any of the top-notch guys. Tim Bradley, I think we was doing a show when Joel Diaz, he said that they wanted that fight. And Bob, he said it wasn't Brandon Rios' fault, but Bob didn't want to give he didn't want to give him Brandon Rios. Even when Tim Bradley was who was it? Right after Tim Bradley had lost to Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley wanted that fight. And you got to give props to Tim Bradley because Tim is like, I want Brandon Rios when he was undefeated, right? And they're like, no, go ahead and fight Mike Alvarado after Rios had beat Alvarado the first time. And Tim Bradley was like, why would you guys give me the loser? I want to fight the winner. And if all fighters thought like that, right, King? Right, King, Yusef? If all fighters thought like that, not too many fighters. A lot of fighters, they're happy to fight the loser. Like Marquez fighting against Alvarado's after he got knocked out. I mean, what did you think about Rios' performance, and what would you like to see next for Brandon Rios, King Yusef?
Pacquiao fought against a few losers.
I would like to see Brandon Rios fight the slugger Diego Chavez again, like in a rematch, because that fight is still like undone yet. But Rios looks pretty good, like vintage Rios, brawling, non-stop pressure, aggression. Like he broke down Alvarado easily. But for Rios now, it would be very tough because the welterweight division is pretty stacked. I mean, there's like Keith Thurman, Robert Guerrero fighting. There's like Tim Bradley, who actually asked Bob Arnhem for the fight, but then also they share the same manager, Cameron Duncan, but then Cameron Duncan did not want Rios fighting Tim Bradley. So he told Bob, like, we'll fight like Wilson Provodnikov for like Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
But now like Bob Arnhem's like welterweight division is very slim. Like, there's only like about like 5 fighters only. Like in his roster, he has to do business with other promoters to match his fighters and stuff. Because the only thing I can see Rios fighting probably early summer is like probably Diego Chavez. Like if he steps up and faces like either like Khan, Bradley, even Devin Alexander, like he'll get unboxed, like hands down.
Yeah.
But Rios is like he's fan friendly. Like he always fights exciting, but there is a limit to like how much punishment you can take.
Yeah.
Like what we saw against Mike Alvarado, like he was physically drained and mentally drained. Like he's been in some like big wars. Like his body can't take it anymore. And the funny thing about what is so hypocritical is like HBO approved Mike Alvarado 3 times. Like if a fighter had like 3 losses and then you send it to HBO, they'll be like, we're not gonna show this guy. But since he's like fan friendly and then like always like fights hard, and the funny thing is that people are comparing it to a tour guide. Like you can't compare that to a tour guide. Like he fights with like broken hands, broken lips, and a broken eye. Like he comes to fight and to win.
Yeah.
Not to like quit on the stool and like say like, oh, I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. And you know, like I said, Brandon Rios, he's going to be a great challenge and somebody great to put on an undefeated fighter's resume if they can knock him out, because he's never been knocked out before. So whoever knocks out Brandon Rios, you know, it is going to look very impressive on their resume. You know, just like when Shane Mosley knocked out Antonio Margarito. It was very impressive. So we'll see, because we know Brandon Rios, he has a very good chance. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if, like, it's kind of hard off of one performance because of Mike Alvarado. He reminded me of Juanma Lopez versus Mikey Garcia. His balance and legs look horrible. So it's hard to gauge off of one performance. But just from talking to him and seeing him make weight, and he sounds really, really invigorated. So I disagree. Like, him and Khan, I think Khan has the ability to easily outbox him, but there's still an element of danger because what I've seen live, this dude's uppercuts and his inside, he's literally, in my opinion, one of the top guys on the inside. You know what I'm saying? Him and Canelo have a nasty inside game, those uppercuts. So, I mean, him versus Amir Khan would be a great fight, because Khan could be in a situation like he's more aggressive than Danny Garcia, and he has power. And at 47, I don't know who has more power, Danny Garcia at 40 or him at 47, but his inside is nasty. So I don't think that's quite an easy fight. And I'm going to even go on the limb and say this: Brandon Rios versus Adrian Broner. At one point in time, I picked Broner to beat Rios. Now I see it as a close fight. This could be a really close fight if Broner were to fight Rios, if he looks like that. That's just my...
I know. I totally agree with that. I totally agree. I mean, the thing with Brandon Rios is he's going to test your will, you know. And like you said, he is one of the best inside fighters in that division, you know. So, I mean, you have to be mentally strong to deal with the pressure that Brandon Rios is going to implement, you know, in that ring.
Yeah, and like for Broner, as he moved up, I'm not really impressed with his power and speed. I feel like there was a lot better at 35. So is he going to be able to deter a guy like Rios, who we know could take a punch from guys like Manny Pacquiao, Diego Chavez, who we know carry power? So I think fights like that could be good. Ruslan Provodnikov is obviously a fight I've always wanted to see, or Victor Ortiz for me. Those are all good fights to me.
Yeah, and Brandon Rios is, as far as I'm concerned, he's only a win away from moving into maybe 3rd place or 4th place in that race, you know. So like I said, if he can knock off a guy with a winning record, a guy he's not expected to beat, you know, like an Adrian Broner, like you know, someone on that level, Lucas Matisse, even Ruslan Provodnikov, you know, if he can knock off one of those guys, he becomes more relevant and significant in the division. So let's go ahead and move on. Now I'm gonna let my man Norrin Raddical educate you guys on this breaking news right here. Norrin, there's some more breaking news with Al Haymon, man.
Don't stop.
If you could educate the fans, man, give them a little bit of Al Haymon's background, you know, his education, and go ahead and get into the news, man.
I think one of the reasons I think that Bob Arum has an issue, again, with Floyd Mayweather and his decision to take on Al Haymon as an advisor, is because, like I think I said before, it makes Bob not the only Harvard graduate in the room anymore. So I guess he felt an advantage with that. But Al Haymon, he's a Harvard economics graduate. people know about him from the concert promotions through the music thing, but his transition through boxing, into the boxing community, he had roots. He had established roots already in professional boxing, with his brother being a professional boxer, his older brother, Bobby Haymon. So it's like with Al, he's coming in and he's really, I guess, you got to say Oscar also, because Oscar fought professionally himself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, Al is coming in where, he genuinely has the boxer's interest. You know what I mean? The boxer's best interest. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's where he's coming from. So his fighters is satisfied. Traditionally in the sport of boxing, promoters and fighters don't get along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ain't heard too many complaints coming out of these guys from Al Haymon. With his 100+ stable of fighters now. You know what I mean? And he's developing now. Of course, everybody knows with the NBC. He's on with the Premier Championship Series. These are quality fights. These are pay-per-view quality fights.
Pay-per-view quality.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now this is on network TV. He's going beyond now to the point where he's getting the Premier Championship Series on every network available. It's not stopping at NBC. Now it's also BET and CBS.
And Spike.
And Spike, of course. You know what I mean? Which was kind of, right on the heels of the NBC thing. But now, we're talking about the potential for
networks.
Boxing on BET. Quality fight. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds pretty dope. Yeah. Boxing on BET.
So, that's something, like I said, that's revolutionary.
Groundbreaking, everything.
Already,
yeah.
Son,
so yeah,
and yeah.
Go ahead.
In summary, I guess he's not as bad for the sport as a lot of the decals be saying.
Like I said, I think we misinterpreted what they were trying to say. They meant bad meaning good. I think that's what they actually meant.
Not bad meaning bad.
Yeah. He's a badass motherfucker. I think what they was trying to say. So because think about it, guys. Ego. How do you refute this? How does a fan say this man is a virus in the sport? Because, like I said, they tried to see, a lot of times people try to use the angle, this guy on some Don King shit, he's ripping off the fighters. But all of a sudden you get Al Haymon, who's actually paying the fighters more than any other promoter, right? And so then they say, okay, we can't use that excuse. Let's try to find another excuse. Oh, I know. He's giving, he's putting all these fighters in, with easy fighters. He's putting on easy fights, guaranteeing them wins. But now all of a sudden, he's putting them all in tough fights, and they're getting paid good.
What's easy about Robert Guerrero and Keith Thurman?
Man, what's easy about that? Danny Garcia, Lamont Peterson. Wow. Even like I said, even going back to last year, people don't understand this. Miguel Vasquez had just signed with Al Haymon. Keep in mind, Mickey Bay is not an Al Haymon fighter. Okay, no matter what you think about the decision, it doesn't really matter who you thought won the fight. But my question is, why would Al Haymon put his fighter in with a guy that can possibly beat him if he's supposed to just be giving these guys the easiest fights? And now Johnny Gonzalez, I hear he just signed a deal with Al Haymon, and he's about to put him in with Russell. Who? Gary Russell. I don't even think Gary Russell is not with Al Haymon, or is he? I don't think he is with Is he, Eagle?
I think he is, actually.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. So,
yeah, he's with them.
He's what?
He's Al Haymon fighter.
Okay, because I knew he was with Golden Boy.
Al Haymon.
Okay, so but the
Johnny
point.
Gonzalez signed a new contract with Al Haymon.
Mm-hmm.
Three fight contract, big money, because Johnny Gonzalez was angry at Oscar De La Hoya for not getting enough money for the Abner Mares rematch because they weren't giving him enough money. So Al Haymon talked to his Mexican manager, told him like, we'll give you a 3-fight contract, big money. You'll be fighting over like 100 million homes. You'll be fighting Gary Russell Jr. Winner faces Abner Mares next.
Wow.
For more money. Like, if you win, you make more money. Like, a lot of people don't know about Al Haymon. Like, this guy's a business. He has business connections to like banks, in investment managers.
Yeah.
And like big big companies. So like a lot of people are like supporting him.
Yeah.
And he's not like crooked. Like he has legitimate business contacts and legitimate like connections and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are down to 2 minutes. Boy, that hour went fast, didn't it? But anyway, we down to 2 minutes. Let me just go ahead and throw this out there real quick. Everyone wants to know, is the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight going to happen? There's rumors. There's rumors that Pacquiao is going to fight Jesse Vargas. Floyd Mayweather is going to fight Miguel Cotto. You know, but this is the whole thing. We hearing something different from the top-ranked Bob Arum's roster or stable every damn day, right? 1 minute Pacquiao is calling Floyd Mayweather a coward. Bob Arum is calling him a coward. Steven Espinoza, he comes back and he says Bob Arum is lying. And he said this has nothing to do with Mayweather. This is about the networks, HBO versus Showtime. Then Manny Pacquiao, he comes back and says the fight is 80% done. So, I mean, Norrin, take us out, man. Who are we supposed to believe, man?
Hey, I'm going to put it like this. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. And I'm going to leave it at that. Decafs, this the best half hour of your life. Keziah, we love you. Salute.
All day. Who you going to call? Calf Busters.
The nation.
All of the above, baby. We getting them T-shirts out there for y'all. All right, we gonna get some calf busters. You know what I'm saying, on the shirt. You know, we got the nation coming, baby. We got it coming. So anyway, y'all.
Resistance is futile.
Man, tell them. So hey, man, we will see you guys next week with a full hour next week. You know, check us out. If you want to watch the show live, check us out on alltalkradio.net at 4:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesday. All right? For my man Norrin Raddical in the building, for my man Boxing Ego and King Yusef, I am your host, Dante, Dante's Boxing Nation. We will see you guys next week. On to the next one, baby.
Keziah, we love you.